this is my last video to get out before I have to go to work at 4. Um, Now, even though Trump lost in 2020, Trump's big lie is ruining it for the rest of the Republican field. And what I mean by that is that these sycophantic inbred Trump voters still believe that Trump won the last election in a landslide, which he didn't, and that they claimed that the Democrats stole it from him, which they did not. And while it appears that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has survived the tantrum from the right-wing Freedom Caucus members after he made a deal with Joe Biden that essentially won none of their priorities and pushed off their next hostage opportunity until 2025, they weren't happy, but they were anxious to get back to screeching about wokeness, which they cannot define what it means, attacking the deep state, and pretending to do made-up investigations into Joe Biden so that they let it slide. With that saga ending with a whimper and not a bang, it's time to rejoin the Republican presidential primary clown car. Both the front-runner, former squatter Donald Trump, and his chief rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, they were in Iowa this week, wooing the Midwestern white conservatives who are the supposed avatars of real America. Appearing before small, intimate crowds isn't either man's strong suit, but it's an important rite of passage that even Donald Trump cannot entirely escape. Now, Trump takes a lot of pictures with fans with sycophants at Mar-a-Lago, but they have to pay an admission fee. Trump famously made his feelings known back in 2016 when he told a reporter, "Don't forget that when I ran in the primaries and when he was, everyone said you can't do that in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, you can't do that. You have to go and meet like little groups, and you have to see because he claims he did big Klan rallies. He claiming that somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 people would come, and they said, wait a minute." Trump can never make it. That's because that's not the deal. That's not the way you deal with New Hampshire. You have to go to people's living rooms, have dinner, have tea, have a good time. Oh yeah, well, people didn't have respect for you anyway. They just pretended that they did. Now, speaking of when Trump was talking about weird, and speaking of fucking weird, Ron DeSantis has been trying his best to act like a human, but it's obviously very difficult for him. Now, people are wondering why he pronounces his last name in two different ways, sometimes saying it's DeSatanus, and sometimes saying it's DeSatanus, and that makes him testy as well. And that's very fucking cute, but it doesn't address the question as to why he would do something so fucking odd. The man's reputation for being just plain weird grows stronger by the fucking day. Now, there was some substance, but if you want to call it that, at the various events the two men attended, DeSatanus touted his record in Florida, while Trump touted his alleged 40-point lead in the state and told those gathered at the West Side Conservative Club of Urbandale that he says, "I got trying to give them, for their farmers, $28 billion, and a lot of people in this room. You got checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars." And that is a fucking lie, of course, but U.S. consumers paid for the tariffs on Chinese goods, and U.S. taxpayers bailed out the farmers for the Chinese retaliation. Now, later, he told a bigger town hall crowd with faux celebrity Sean Insanity, in which he claimed he would end the Ukrainian war in 24 hours by making them sit down together, and refuted DeSantis' contention that it would take 8 years to destroy woke democratism by promising to turn the country around in 6 months, and presumably it will be right after he enacts his health care plan that he promised was coming in 2 weeks back in 2020, but that's because he never had a plan to begin with on that. And the crowd got very excited by licking his nuts. DeSantis has begun to attack Donald Trump to reporters while continuing to only refer to him obliquely in his speeches. He complains that he didn't fire Dr. Anthony Fauci during the pandemic as part of his dishonest account of superior COVID performance, and Trump didn't have the power to fire him, and it hits him for not closing the border. Now, Trump, on the other hand, attacks and insults in the usual way, but he is saying a few things that deviate from the standard right-wing line, just as he did back in 2016. Now, for instance, somebody tweeted this. Now, I don't think Donald Trump is the most electable Republican because he's a pathologically unstable maniac, but he understands what makes a candidate electable better than any other Republican, and it's a big advantage to him. He used the term himself just a few hours later discussing the military, but it's clear he went after DeSantis for his woke crusade, because polling shows that most people think of woke as a positive term. But like I said, the Republicans can't even describe what the fuck that word means. He took credit for the COVID vaccine when he had nothing to do with it, when one of the people in the crowd complained about the jab, saying that there's a big portion of the country that thinks that they are a great thing. He's also hedging on abortion in ways that are very dicey, especially with the Iowa GOP, which is heavily evangelical. He's looking ahead to the general election, knowing that abortion bans like the one DeSantis has signed in Florida are deadly for the Republican Party. And you'll recall, back in 2016, that Trump did this, staking out a few positions to the left of the conservative base, most specifically his promise to protect Social Security and Medicare from cuts which had been bedrock right-wing principles for decades. Trump doesn't care about Social Security and Medicare, and he'll do anything he can to cut those. It's part of what made him different and appealing. Axios reported that Trump's pollster, Tony Fabrizio, has been making the case that DeSantis is unelectable because of his hard right-wing policies, and Trump is clearly listening to him. Fabrizio says that they've done surveys that show that when people in swing states hear what he's been up to, his support is cratering. It's not just the 6-week abortion ban and the fight with Disney, which are electorally fatal. It's also DeSantis' past support for cutting the social safety net and enacting a national sales tax, as well as the book banning. Whether Trump can thread the needle on all of that is up in the air. He's been on all sides of the Disney thing, and his rhetoric on abortion is satisfying no one. It's clear that he's going to go after DeSantis' record on these issues one way or the fucking other, but his super PAC is already running ads on his votes to cut Social Security. Which, if Trump cuts Social Security, you know what the fuck's gonna happen. All the elderly people are gonna come out in droves, and they're gonna vote against him. For his part, DeSantis seems to think that he has to slam dunk electability argument with his extortions to put an end to the culture of losing, suggesting in so many words that Trump is a loser, which he is, and who has run the GOP into the ground, which he has. He's right about that, but he doesn't seem to realize that the Republican voters are convinced otherwise. On Tuesday, Monmouth released a poll showing that almost 2/3 of the Republicans think that Trump is best positioned to beat Biden. Boy, he couldn't beat Biden in 2020, so I don't know what they're going to think now. And why wouldn't they? They believe that Trump won the last election in the landslide and the Democrats stole it from him, which didn't happen. Trump lost, and Democrats did not steal it from him. Now, until Ron DeSantis and the rest of the field are willing to admit that Trump's contention that he actually won the election was a big lie, this attack is going to not only fall flat on their ass, it's going to offend the very voters to whom they're trying to appeal to. Now, this rivalry is probably not going to last very fucking long, but DeSantis may pull out a win in Iowa, but the political graveyard is full of candidates who won the state and were never heard from again, so that's not going to tell the tale. The fact of the matter is that there are just too many Republicans who are still in love with Donald Trump's nuts, and unless something catastrophic happens, it's going to be almost impossible to beat him in the 2024 GOP primary. Certainly an uncharismatic grouch who pronounces his own name differently every other day is highly unlikely to do that. So if you like the video, you can get the video, like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you know when a new video comes out. You can also leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you want to support my work and my brother, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little, it's a few bucks a video or a month, your donation can help go a long way. And thanks for listening. And I'll be back next Thursday for another video. And hope you guys enjoyed.